All right, well, welcome everybody. This is Kevin Wilkie, and I have Ed Downs here with me. And we wanted to do what was going to be a Google Hangout, so we can have this like live interaction. You can see our faces and have a great discussion on what I think is such a critical topic in today's world of local marketing: is making sure you pick the right niche. And if you are not niche focused in this business, then you are going to be left behind, in my opinion, and eaten up by the bigger players. They're just going to be more effective of being a generalist to the whole world of small businesses, where you can be a specialist for a specific niche. That's what I do myself. That's what Ed does. We talked about it last year on the State of the Union address. As that is the future, is you have to be niche focused. So we want to do a great free training to give people the criteria of how to pick a great niche, and then what do you actually do after you pick that niche. So our agenda real quick is, should you be niche focused or not? Well, we're going to answer that, but I'll answer it real quick is yes, you absolutely need to be. The two big mistakes that we see when people try and pick a niche, so we don't want you to make those mistakes and you can avoid them. And then the 12-point ideal niche criteria that you can use to evaluate any niche from this point forward. And then we're going to take that 12-point criteria and go evaluate some of the top niches that people are most familiar with to just see how they fit into this criteria and what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses. And then what do you do after you pick a niche? So these are the two big questions when we did a survey is, one, people didn't know how to pick a great niche. So they're very stuck and concerned about picking the right niche. So we want to give a lot of clarity there. And then there's a lot of people saying, well, what do I do after I pick a niche? I feel stuck. I now know what niche I want to go after, but what do I do to be successful in? So we want to cover that as well. And then we're going to talk about a case study that we're going to do on the number one most lucrative niche that we have been in over the past 4 years. Any quick comment, anything, I guess, as we go along? This is just going to be like a back and forth conversation with Ed and myself. Um,
Yeah, some quick comments there. Everybody that has watched my training or any of the videos that I've done or any of those things that Kevin and I have done together recently, you know that we are huge advocates of um, targeting niches. And you can charge higher rates, you can learn the language and communicate better with the business owners and just close more sales. And it just makes it much easier if you don't have to be an expert in 10 different niches, if you really ratchet it down, and you want to pick your niches scientifically. So you want to pick niches based on criteria that you've researched and understand to indicate that that niche is going to be good. So that's why we're real excited today to bring you this information, give you some information that you can follow when you're looking at different niches, that you can use on your own to really evaluate some niches. Then we're going to show you, a breakdown case study of some of the top niches that we work in, and then and some of the statistics for those, what makes them good. So real exciting stuff today.
all right. Anybody that was on last year's State of the Union webinar that we did, the big outcome of that is you need to be niche authority focused. So not just focus on a niche, but then position yourself as an authority within that niche. And we had a whole framework on how to do that. So we want to take it to a whole new level this year around becoming a niche authority. So this is something that everybody can go out and take action on. So first, what are some problems with not having a niche? That, to make it really clear on why you about it to be niche authority focused, is if you don't have a niche, what ends up happening is you have no clear direction because everything seems like a good opportunity. So you're being pulled in 100 different directions instead of being laser focused. And then also, people that are not niche focused tend to be stuck in the hobby mode versus going out and building a real scalable and viable long-term business. So when you pick a niche and then you aggressively go after that niche, you become very business focused. Where if you are just kind of trying to do everything for everybody, it's really easy to get stuck in that like hobby and not making the results that you're looking for. And in today's age, it didn't used to be this, but as time went on, and right last year, definitely this year, and definitely in the future, it can be very difficult to get to the $10,000 a month level and almost impossible to stay at that level long term if you're not highly focused on a niche. If you're just trying to be a generalist, that the days of being a good generalist, of trying to offer a little bit of everything to a little bit of everybody, is really going in the past.
Yeah, Kevin, one thing I'd like to say about that is when you position yourself that way, you put yourself into a bucket that we refer to as basically you're a commodity business owner. It means you can only really compete on price, and it's a horrible place to be because there's no way to differentiate yourself other than cutting your prices, and that'll eat your business alive. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, you end up in this everything to everybody mode on how you operate your business. And when you're in that mode, like you said, one, you look like everybody else. You're just the same sea of sameness out there, and you can't. It's very difficult to stand out. And then you can't use the language of your target market. You're just using generally sounding language that everybody else is using, and you just is this like the teacher on the the Peanuts there. I've just
Wah 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 wah. I love doing that.
nobody wants to be the wah wah person.
Charlie Brown's teacher.
And then there's just a tremendous amount of competition that you're fighting against because you're all trying to like be the same thing to everybody out there. And like Ed said, you get stuck into being viewed as a vendor selling a low price commodity, and you're always going to have price and margin pressures, like downward pressure on the prices you're charging, which means smaller and smaller margins.
Like Crazy Larry, we got crazy prices.
Which means at the end of the day, you need a whole lot more clients to get the kind of revenue and income and profits that you're looking for. So nobody wants any of those things. I think we're all on the same page, or hopefully we're all on the same page, that being niche authority focused is where we need to be. So some of the benefits when you are niche focused is laser focus action. You know exactly what you need to be doing, and all the stuff, all the other stuff just kind of melts away. Also, you can make a lot faster progress with a lot less challenges because you're laser. It comes from a fact of being laser focused and knowing exactly what needs to happen to get results. And you have instant credibility with when you're properly positioning yourself in the marketplace. Businesses over time want to do with somebody wants to do business and have somebody helping them that specializes in their industry. So, I mean, if you think about it, if you have this high-end Mercedes car, brand new, just got it, are you going to take it to Bob's repair shop on the corner, or are you going to take it to the Mercedes dealership that specializes in the Mercedes dealer in Mercedes cars? Well, you're going to want to have somebody that is an expert and specializes in that because you're going to get better results, and you're going to expect to pay more for those results. But if you take it to the guy on the corner, you might save a few bucks, but who knows what's going to happen? It's not going to get the same level of care, and that's where businesses are heading. Is they want somebody that's a specialist in their industry. And then you get to develop these highly targeted automated marketing funnels because you know laser focus on who your ideal client is, and you can pinpoint those people and then have marketing funnels that speak their language, call them out, really resonate with what they're most interested in.
Yeah, that's real important, Kevin. I mean, there's different ways to segment your audience. I mean, one is by interest, then you get demographics, psychographics, but also being able to speak the language of a certain niche is a huge factor because if you're using the right language, if you're referring to their end customers properly as either customers or clients or patients, and you're just using the correct language for their niche, they're going to bond with you and they're going to know, like, and trust you much quicker. And then that's when they start to make buying decisions, and you can charge the higher tickets.
And if you understand how their industry works and how their business works, as well as or better than they do, that's going to be a massive credibility boost for you because you just instantly get it, and they really appreciate that. Versus who they're used to in the past is they actually that's going to be coming up here in a second. So another thing is allows
Exactly.
premium prices and deliver premium value back like in the good old days of this $1,000 to multi-$1,000, even all the way up to $5,000 to $8,000 a month clients again.
Those were what were those, the unicorn days? Is that what you used to call those?
Rainbow unicorn days are coming back.
Rainbow unicorn days. Yep.
And this is another big one, is you get to have a repeatable and scalable process. So if each client is in a different industry, when you bring them on board, you're starting from scratch. You're almost like starting from scratch because you have to learn the uniqueness of their industry and their business. Whereas if you're focusing on, let's take one of the most common one of dentists, each dentist you're going to get is going to be pretty much the same as the one before, and what you're going to service that you're going to provide them is going to be pretty much the same as the before. So that makes it very scalable and systemizable, and you can deliver faster results in a shorter amount of time at bigger margins. All right, so there's two pitfalls that Ed and I notice people get stuck in when trying to pick a niche. So we want to cover this to make sure that you don't get stuck in either one of these pitfalls. So the first one is kind of like the grass is greener kind of syndrome, where every niche you think is a good niche, or the idea of, well, if one niche is good, why do I just go do a dozen niches? Then that's going to be 12 times better. So the problem is you end up never fully committing to one clear direction. It's like saying, well, if one girlfriend is good, a dozen girlfriends is 12 times better. But then you just get pulled in way too many directions, and you have scattered focus.
You become diluted, and the problem there is, while your intentions are good because you are trying to focus on a niche, it's too diluted, and it comes across as just fake and plastic, and the business owners actually resent you for it. So it's bad to get into that mode.
And what you end up doing is you're constantly starting and then stopping because you're doing something in this one and then this one and that one, and you never really gain momentum. And the big thing is you just don't experience the compound synergy of extended time in one niche. So last month in our agency, we had a record month. This month we'll probably increase by like 25 to somewhere between 25 to 40%, all because of the compound effect of being in this niche for almost 2 years now. And we didn't know it inside and out. We have a reputation in there. People are constantly seeking us out. All kinds of great things are happening. But if you are diluting your efforts in a bunch of different niches, you don't get that compound synergy of being highly focused in one for an extended time. So then the next part is picking a bad niche, where you, like I said, you had best intentions of like you pick one, but then you pick one that's not a good one to be in. So the problems that happen there is you could waste 9, 12 months or more of your business life, which means you lose all that time, you lost the money that you put into it, and you lost the revenue that you could have been making doing something else. And the end result is it could put you out of business.
Very quickly.
And then
one of the things there, Kevin, I just want to articulate is if you sometimes going down the road of the wrong niche can be 10 times worse than not picking a niche at all. And what I mean by that is the money that you invest and the focus that you do to go down a path for a niche, that's a big investment in your time and money. And if you go down the wrong path and you're spending money and at the same time not making very much new money, then once you get down the path 6 months or 12 months, by the time you realize that niche is the bad path, you've already wasted a lot of money and you've lost a lot of revenue. And some business owners, agency owners, are going to find themselves too far down that path to recover, and it could literally put you out of business, like instantly.
yeah.
So just you got to be really careful. Pick your niches intelligently, and not just passionately. In other words, pick them based on logic, not on an emotional attachment to that niche. So, excuse me.
And you can also lose all the motivation you have to be a successful entrepreneur. You put your heart and soul into one direction, and then it fails, that motivation could be gone, and you might just end up giving up, which would be the ultimate is getting in this unrecoverable state. Is you put your heart and soul into one direction, it failed, and you just feel the only option left is just give up and don't try being an entrepreneur again, which we absolutely don't want for anybody. All right.
Yeah, and that could be a choice that you make based on being just beat up by not seeing results, or it could be a situation you're forced into financially by making a series of wrong decisions. You're going down the wrong path.
All right, well, let's talk about the 12-point ideal niche criteria. So now you have a framework to evaluate any niche that you want to be working in. And you're going to know what are its strong points and what are its weak points, and also if you shouldn't even be in it to begin with. So ideally, you want at least 8 out of 12 of the criteria to be present. The closer it is to 12, the more lucrative that niche is going to be. And up to this point, we've only found one that meets all 12 criteria that we use to evaluate niches. So I guess I feel like I've done a lot of talking right now. I'll let you kind of cover the 12-point criteria.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, when we were looking at figuring out what makes a good niche, we looked at a lot of historical data. We pulled together a lot of industry reports and trend reports that have been published. We also talked to a lot of prior students, and we also talked to vendors that do outsourcing, like pay-per-click or SEO vendors, to really pull together some information on what makes an ideal niche, and what are the top niches and how are they performing. And we came up with really a 12-point criteria to evaluate these niches against. And this is this checklist is worth gold for you to have in your arsenal, so that every time you're considering a niche, you just go right down the list and evaluate whether or not they fit this. So the first one is obviously, you've heard this over and over again over the years, and it has not changed. They have to have a high customer value. Ideally, 2,000 or more for each sale that they make. At a minimum, 2,000 lifetime value of the client over a 1-year period, right? So minimal within a year of 2,000. Ideally, 2,000 per sale. Also, they have to have a large number of new customers always coming into their business. So they'll always have new customers either through churn rate or through just new customers entering the market. So they always have to have that pool to feed from.
And another way to look at new customers is people actively searching on a high level every month for what they're offering. Those are people.
Right.
I mean, they might have been a customer of somebody like a couple of years ago, so they're not brand new, but they're new in that moment, looking to make a purchase decision and researching to find a company.
Right, that's a good point. The third one, it was one of my favorites, and it's basically having a lot of different services that they can provide, and particularly a lot of different high-ticket services, 6 or more, because that way, once you get that client can then be like having multiple clients. So if they have, 3, 4, 5, 6, or even more high-ticket services, well, that means each service that you're helping them with to get customers for. Is like having a separate client. So you need fewer clients to make your revenue. So that's a huge factor right there. The next one, another one is if you can find a niche market where some of their high ticket services don't have to be performed by the actual business owner. And we'll get into a little bit more of what that means. But for an example of that, could be a CPA might have a few bookkeepers working for him, but to sign off on CPA, you have to have that credential. Or a dentist, right? A dentist, you have to be a dentist to drill a tooth, right? So it's just those are some examples right there. Having some high ticket services though that don't require the business owner to actually be in the room or perform those services.
Yeah. So like if you might be able to get a dentist a lot more implants, but he only has so many hours a day to do $3,000 implants. So
Right. And that's not to say a dentist is not a good client or a good potential client, but just based on our criteria, that's just one. We've got this criteria, and we'll see how a bunch of the top niches stack up in these categories.
yeah, you're gonna get clear on what's the strengths and weaknesses of that niche. from your standpoint as a marketer?
Another good one is repeat customer business versus a one-time purchase. I mean, this is kind of a no-brainer. If you have especially high-ticket services and the people are coming back to you on a regular basis, when I say regular basis, that's more than once a year, right? Or if they're coming every month or every couple months, that's even better. Or if you're going to them, depending on whether you go to them or they come to you in your business, but having that repeat business is huge. Another one is upfront cash payments with a short sales cycle. So you got to keep in mind, right? The business owners get paid different ways. Some get paid before they perform a service. Some get paid after. And when you get paid after, sometimes that can take a while. And also, some business owners get paid by insurance, right? Some of the medical fields and dental fields get paid by insurance. So that means they're going to get paid a little bit less, and it's going to take a little longer to get their payment. Delayed, things like that. Construction's a great example. Like some of the roofers and plumbers and whatnot, they get paid after the job's done, and sometimes they get paid 30 or 60 days after the job is done. So just keep in mind. And then real long sales cycles. You have real estate, mortgage brokers. Even though that's a higher ticket, the sales cycle, the time that it takes to get that money in their pocket is just a longer amount of time.
Yeah, so this is like talking about war stories. A number of years ago, one of the niches I started up a business in with somebody else was focusing on mortgage brokers. And we invested 9 months, almost 9 months into that before we realized that just was not a good niche because of this one factor right here, really long sales cycles. So for them, yeah, a new loan might be worth several $1,000s to them. But from the moment we generate that lead to when they get paid for that could be months. So to charge thousands of dollars for marketing services was very challenging because of that long sales cycle. And that invested a lot of time, money, and focus into that to end up with absolutely nothing to show for it other than uh, lesson learned, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons learned. I mean, I remember when you and I together were looking at the funeral home industry, and it just the way we approached it, and not having these criterias to look at all the key areas. It was really great in some of these key areas, but we hadn't, we were early on, didn't even realize some of the other areas were important, and unfortunately was just a wrong path to go down. But yeah, it's easy to head down a wrong path if you're not meeting those criteria.
I'd say back then we might have had like maybe 6 out of 12 criteria. So back then,
Yeah.
based on what we knew then, it look good. But now with more years under our belt, more experience personally, and the people that we work with, we just have a better understanding.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Let's see the next one. So you want them a niche to already be spending money on marketing and to believe in marketing. It's a fundamental rule of business in sales. It's so much easier to get someone to redirect an existing budget than it is to get them to allocate a new budget. And that's really, really important for you to understand that asking somebody to come up with new money out of somewhere that money's not currently earmarked for in an unrelated category, that's like pulling teeth. As opposed to if they're already spending money on some sort of marketing that maybe just is underperforming, it's very easy to get them to redirect that budget into something that is working once you show them, how to that return on investment. The next one. So you want to have, let's talk about margins for a second, right? You want to have high value, high margin services, easy to deliver, right? You want to be able to provide great value for that business owner, right? And so the higher ticket that you can, the higher their ticket, the end customer's ticket, the more money they're going to be willing to spend to get each customer. And the more money they're willing to spend to get each customer means the more money that they can give you to perform services. And the more money they give you to perform services, that's the better job that you can do. That's the more services, more power that you can put in their direction to get them those customers. So it's just a no-brainer. Having those high ticket, that just means a bigger marketing budget, in a larger amount of money that can be spent on getting each customer.
And then the great thing is because you're niche focused, you can make this be a repeatable service that you can replicate client after client after client. So over time, it becomes even higher margin for you because you're not creating brand new stuff every single time.
That's a great point, Kevin. Make anytime you're talking about working within a niche, a lot of what you do, um, once you've gone down the path of figuring out how to do it, and you've created all your templates and your tools, then it's repeatable. You can then basically just lightly modify for each new client you bring on, and your setup time, gets cut. Instead of a whole bunch of hours, we're talking sometimes minutes to get them set up. The next point is the educated-minded business owner. You could also say more seasoned business owner, but they're going to be in a less reactive mode and more in a strategic thought process, rather than like a scrambling technician that is just sort of flying by the seat of their pants, new to business, doesn't really know what they're doing. You want to target business owners that maybe are a little bit further along. Either their industry just automatically teaches them about sales and marketing, or they've been in business for a few years to kind of have made a few mistakes and see what works and doesn't work. So that's another criteria there.
This can be one of the challenges with the like blue collar niches is you tend to find a lot of those business owners or people that used to be the technician, like the guy doing the work, that now decided he wanted to have his business doing the work, and he doesn't have a business mindset around things. He still has that laborer mindset, so that it makes it very over time frustrating to work with because you're trying to deliver high level business results and he's just focused on what is going on that day and fighting fires and everything else.
Yeah, it's a good point there, Kevin. So there's another one, staff and expense overhead. So um, when you have a lot of overhead, that means that a lot of the money coming into the business has to go into providing for that overhead. So what do they have services that can be performed by less trained people? I mean, do they have a high ticket service that can be performed by somebody who's making $15-20 an hour as opposed to somebody that's making $50 an hour? Are there people? Is the staff well trained? Just different things like that come into play, not only from an overhead standpoint, but from how they run their business standpoint. Is another criteria to have. Kevin, do you want to add to that one?
Yeah, my experience on these two sides is if a business that has overhead that they have to cover each month, the marketing becomes more and more important. So you're a more critical role in their business because you are the one helping to bring in new customers and new cash flow to cover the overhead they have. So you become a much more valuable to them versus somebody that just has a very like them and somebody else doing something, and like if there's a swing or not in the revenue, it's not as critical. And then on the staff side, what's really important, especially if you're generating a lot of leads for them or a lot of calls or uh, online leads, is somebody that's dedicated to actually answering the phone, converting those calls into appointments or clients or customers or whatever it is. And versus just this round robin approach where there's somebody there's nobody really dedicated to that, which means you can do a phenomenal job making the phone ring for them, but they are just lost my screen. But
that's all right. I see you. I still see you there.
They're not effectively converting that into customers and cash flow for them.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kevin. And just a little tidbit for everybody. That's one of the services that I provide with lead capture. Is not only lead capture to a website, but also on the phone. So when I take on a new business, I have these index cards printed up, and they put them next to the phone. And then I have a video, a white label pre-recorded video, and the whole staff is required to watch that video on how to properly answer the phone. And then for a probationary period, every single phone call that comes through, one of those cards has to be filled out. And it has to be about within 15% of the total call volume that comes through, because we know there's going to be some personal or vendor calls that come through. But yeah, about 80-85% of those calls that come through, there better be a card filled out, and it allows us to really make sure that the lead capture is taking place. So just a little something that you can do on your own to help your existing clients convert more of the traffic you send them into sales. So anyway, that was a little off pace, a little tangent there, but it just came to mind, and it's a huge value item there.
Yeah, another thing we do along that lines is we audit the calls, so everything goes through call tracking. So we have a record of all the calls that we generate, and then recording of those, and then we'll go in and randomly audit those and make sure that they're following the training that we gave them on how to properly answer the phone and convert it into clients. And if they're doing things improperly, we can now give them feedback to help them improve. So the business owners, the right-minded business owners really appreciate that, because we are not just a vendor selling them something. We're actually their marketing consultant that has a strategic interest in their success.
Yeah, and Kevin, just to add to that real quick, when you position yourself that way as a sales and marketing business partner or consultant, they you become a gatekeeper for them, because a lot of times with a lot of my clients, if they get something from another marketing company, they actually just forward it to me and ask me if I think they should take a closer look at it. Or they'll say, hey, can you look at this for me? Is this something we need? And so I end up protecting my own accounts because I become the gatekeeper. So that's definitely a positioning that you want to be in.
All right. Well, next time
So
you
the next one is
with this the good, both the good and the bad side.
yeah, exactly. So and then the number 11, we got the low maintenance, long term mindset. So I love the clients that I can get where the first month, spend an hour or two getting them set up, but it's more of a set it and forget it, like Ron Popeil always said with his rotisserie chicken maker. Set it and forget it, right? And in that way, each month, the client is seeing and getting exponential value that builds month after month after month, but it's almost zero or minimal effort on your part to keep that going once it's set up. So having those low maintenance, long-term services in place, and you also want a business owner that is thinking long-term. So your process has to take that into consideration, that you're training them. Not only do they have to have that mindset to begin with, but you're training them and grooming them for a long-term relationship. So, like you're saying, the expectation for, 2 years instead of, say, 2 months, which a lot of us are used to. I mean, I've been there where around the 3-month period, half the clients jump ship because, it's taking too long for SEO to kick in, right? We've all been there. There's ways to find the right clients that have the right mindset and that are low maintenance, and then foster that and grow that.
And the opposite of that is those that have like a short-term mindset is they just want to know what can you do today or yesterday, and they're
Right.
micromanaging you. They're like questioning everything, and those are the ones that tend to jump to the next thing very quickly because they don't have that long-term business owner mindset.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kevin. It's just those are great people to be involved with because they have the right mindset, but you can then, just by showing them some good results and communicating with them a certain way, you can just expand on that. So the number 12, minimal amount of competition and major players. So I'm going to give you my little take on this, and then Kevin can probably chime in as well. But basically, the way I look at this is you want to choose a niche where the business owners, maybe there's a barrier of entry so that not just anybody can just decide to go into that business, right? So, for example, a dentist, right? They have to go to dental school, or a CPA. They have to go to CPA school and take an exam, and doctors, have to become medical doctors. Plumbers, even plumbers have to go through, their apprenticeship, to become a plumber, right? So some of these things is going to restrict the amount of competition that they have, and then So that's my take on that. And Kevin, do you have an opinion on that one?
And when you look at it from the agency owner standpoint, is how many other agencies are targeting this industry? Is it a extremely competitive one where it's everybody's going after it, and then there's also major companies, 10, 50, $100 million companies targeting that industry as well? Because if there's just an excessive amount of competition, your job is only going to be harder from that point forward to get started and gain your foothold versus every industry, let's face it, is going to have competition. To think that there's a magic one that does it is a falsehood. So just expect that there's going to be competition, but the more there is, the harder it is for you. So you might as well try and find with an acceptable amount of competition of other agencies, and ideally not these massive players that are pouring millions of dollars into that industry.
Yeah, it's a great way to look at that. So very
All
cool.
right, well, let's now take that 12-point criteria and go and quickly through some of the common niches that we've all heard about in this world of local online marketing.
Before we show that, Kevin, do you want to ask the group what are some of the niches that they think are in the top six or top five,
Yeah, go ahead and
and
type in
then they can
ones
see if it matches up with what we discovered?
yeah. We'll also see if there's any like speed readers that quickly saw the.
So yeah, go ahead real quick and type in the chat box, the question box. What are one or two niches that you think maybe top the list? And don't take any examples that we gave earlier on as niches being good or bad, because some of the examples we used could or could not be on that list. But just some of the top niches there that sort of fit all those criteria. They have high customer value and the right mindset and repeat business and high ticket sales and all those fun things. So go ahead and type in. So we got see Lawrence says dentist, lawyers, laser surgery. Oh, very good, very good. Yep. Dan says general contractors. Damon says cosmetic surgery. Larry says lawyers and chiropractors. Frankie, I like your thinking, Frankie. Fortune 500 companies. Yes. And then we got Don, dentists, lawyers, and plumbers. Emma, health, fitness. Yeah, those are good niches. These are all great niches. Cosmetic dentist. Money. I would assume you mean money. You mean financial related industries. Frankie, manufacturing companies. Victor, lawyers. Emma, financial services. Frankie, travel industry. Let's see. Larry says, do you have the 12 points on one slide or review? Yes, Kevin. We're going to make that this sheet that we're about to show them. We're going to make a blank version of this available to them, so you guys can then use this to fill in the blanks and do your own evaluation of niches going forward. So, Kevin, do you want to introduce this, or do you want me to?
Yeah. So real quick, as Ed I talked about last year, there's three kind of buckets that local niches fall into. There's a medical one, there's professional ones, and then there's the blue collar ones. So pretty much all the niches out there are going to fall into one of these. If you start looking at like business to business, there's going to be different ones there, but that's a kind of a different thing to look at. So we picked two of the most common medical ones, dentists and chiropractors, two of the most common professional ones of lawyers and accountants, and two of the most common blue collar ones of plumbers and roofers. And went through and analyzed these, and we're going to give you like a quick rundown of why we scored it this way and how did it turn out. So the interesting thing is almost all of these, I believe all of these were mentioned when we did this little poll. So I think we did a good job of picking some of the most common ones out there.
Yeah, and it's good that that means that our audience here has also got their hands on the pulse of the market as well, because our industries are, we pick these based on feedback we've gotten from people in the trenches, our own experience, the experiences of the the vendors that do fulfillment, right? The outsourcing vendors, as well as industry reports that we've collected. So this is not just stuff that we made up. These are actual industries that are at the top of the list. So you guys are right on the money. So looking at the first one, so what we're going to do is we're going to go one by one, like Kevin said, and we're going to kind of look and see which ones meet different aspects of criteria. Some of this is subjective, right? So different people might have different opinions. I'm going to go into detail on the first one, and then we'll just kind of fly through the rest of them once you understand how they all apply. So you can see the dentist, the top one, high customer value. Generally, they have the high customer value. Let's see, large number of new customers each year. Yep, that's true. Large number of services they offer. They get a half a point for that one. They do have the teeth whitening. Some of them will do orthodontics, things like that. But generally, most regular dentists are just going to be doing the cleaning and fillings and root canals and things like that. High ticket services performed by somebody besides the owner. Well, owner slash dentist, right? And there might be multiple dentists there. We're not going to get into that argument, but yes, there are hygienists. Frank had mentioned, or Larry had mentioned this on the call. What about the hygienist for the dentist? Yes, but that's not really low. That's more of a low ticket service. That's a teeth cleaning, right? But that hygienist is not going to be pulling teeth or doing root canals. So they kind of failed in that category. Repeat business, yep. People go every 6 months to a year, so they met that. Upfront cash business with short sales cycle. They definitely don't meet that because most of people are coming to a dentist, have some sort of dental insurance, and are coming there for teeth cleaning purposes, and so it's a different type of sales cycle. A lot of people are finding the dentist, online and everything, but it just didn't meet that criteria. And then already spending money on marketing. It's been my experience that most of the dentists out there understand the need for spending money on marketing, so they're doing so. And then our ability to provide high value, easy to deliver, high margin services. Yep, definitely. Educated business owner. Generally, the professions, are in general educated and they do become business savvy over time. Low maintenance, long term versus micromanaging. Not really meeting that. And then minimal amount of competition and major players. It's a pretty competitive market out there. So that's dentists. That's looking at dentists against those 5 criteria. We're not going to go line item by line item through all of these, but we'll just quickly maybe look at some of the highlights of each one. So, Kevin, did you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, a couple of people pointed this out. We mistakenly missed one of the items, so that we have 11 out of 12, and we missed the expensive or high overhead and trained staff. So,
Oh, that's my fault, guys. I apologize. I made this chart, and I just in the heat of the moment, in all the excitement, I must have forgotten that line item.
so
But yeah, I mean, dentists, yeah, definitely is going to definitely have high overhead. So they would have an X in that category
so
because all the machines, the X-ray machines, cleaning machines, having trained staff, they're definitely going to be in that category.
So if we total this up, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5, and the number of services they could kind of go either way. Some of them may have 6 or more. A lot of them may not. So we gave them a half a point. So this is kind of on the verge of it's being a good niche or not a good niche. And now you know what are the challenges with this niche. I think competition is definitely one of the big ones in the dentist one because this is one of the most highly targeted from an agency standpoint.
And just for clarity, I mean, this is a niche that I would consider going after because it's teetering on that tipping point of being viable. But I would also look at other niches available to me before I would go and settle on that one.
All right, so chiropractors, another common health one. There we go. So this one.
So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, we're gonna. You can go ahead, Dad.
Okay, yeah. So looking at this one, we went through the same criteria, the high value, and missed a few spots with the large number of customers each year. Because generally, chiropractors, if they're seeing you, they're fixing your back, and then then they're done with you. there are a few people that go on a regular basis. Large number of services, well, they might offer massage and they might offer acupuncture, but most chiropractors are just cracking backs, stack them and crack them. So you can see, and then it goes through, and it does meet a bunch of criteria there in the middle. But it's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is another one that meets a 7 out of the criteria. They're also not going to have a lot of overhead. Generally, they need an adjustment table, which and a place to conduct their business. Adjustment tables are all over the map as far as price goes. Some are hydraulic, some are the old school, just like a massage table. But so they're not going to have super high overhead. So this category is going to get a 7.
Yeah, so that makes it kind of borderline. It's not that you can't do it, but it just is going to have a lot of holes as far as being an ideal one.
Right.
All right, so another highly common one, lawyers.
Sure. So this one here, you can see the high customer value, right? I mean, someone once said to me, one thing that people pay any amount of money for, one is to stay alive, and the other one is to stay out of jail. But high customer value, depending on what area of law, but generally they're pretty good. Large new customers each year. Number of services that they provide, it depends on what type of lawyer they are. If they cover multiple services or not, it just depends. And then high ticket service provided by someone else. Well, sure, they can have a paralegal in there, but there's just some things that they have to do. And then having repeat business, well, hopefully they're not getting a lot of repeat business. I mean, it'd be good for them if they do, but it'd probably not be good for their customers. And then, then you see that through the middle there, they are meeting those criteria with already spending money, upfront cash. They're going to want a retainer. Provide high value. Can we provide high value services for them? Absolutely. Are they educated? Yes. And low maintenance, long term. It's been my experience. This is just my experience. But dealing with people in the legal profession can sometimes be tough because they want to put their 2 cents into a lot of what we do. And one thing to keep in mind is the Bar Association for the state in each state sometimes has guidelines or mandates for their marketing, which just kind of complicates things a little bit. And then minimal amount of competition and major players. That's half a point for that one. It's a field that people are more and more agency owners are going after in general. And as far as overhead, not a whole lot of overhead. A desk, a bookshelf, place to meet clients. That's about it. So that's getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7.5 on the scoreboard.
But they would have staff answering the phone, so they might get it like a half a point. So this one is also like probably like meets that criteria. It'd be good to go after. Is going to have some unique challenges with it, but is still a solid niche.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, all of these categories that we've picked, these are top categories. These are all great niches to go after. So don't get me wrong, don't get Kevin wrong. These are all wonderful, amazing niches to go after. But out of this list, there are some that are better than others. So just to make that point.
Yeah, I mean, I know people making a extremely lucrative living in each one of these niches. So they're
same here. These are all niches that I would personally go after. Yep.
All right. Next up, accountants. This might be one of the exceptions. Accountants is probably more challenging than any of these other ones.
My experience with accountants, I just probably wouldn't go after them. A couple reasons. Getting aside from these extra, very seasonal business because during tax season you can't get a hold of them and they do not want to talk about marketing. And then for about a month after tax season, usually they're taking a break. And then it's after that, as they go into summer, they're going to now thinking about, all right, how am I going to feed the family? But then all of a sudden you're back to pre-tax season again. So it's very, very cyclical, seasonal business, which is hard for us agency owners to work with, to be able to turn on and then turn off marketing strategies and campaigns throughout the season. So just something to keep in mind there. But you can see they're not meeting a lot of the criteria. I mean, they got the high ticket services that can be performed by somebody else. That could be bookkeepers or clerks, things like that. Repeat business, they have a lot of repeat business for bookkeeping and taxes. Can we provide high value? Yes, we can. Are they generally educated? Yes. Is there a lot of competition? Yeah, there's a good amount of competition out there. So this one's not scoring as well. This is a niche that I might go after, but probably not. I probably would not actively pursue this niche personally. This looks like it's getting a 5, maybe a 6 on the score.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Kevin?
No, I agree. It's
Yeah,
one that's probably, for good reason, not as popular as the rest of these because it just has a lot
yeah,
of negatives associated with it.
yeah.
Plumbers, I think
Plumbers.
this was the example we gave in Local Business Money Machine just because we needed to give an example. And for whatever reason, it became like, oh, plumbing niche is like the niche to be in.
It's a pretty good niche. That was one of my first clients was a plumber. I actually had to go down and meet him at Starbucks on a Saturday morning based on our availability and the fact that neither one of us had an office. And he was just a great guy. Got along great, paid his bills on time, loved the work I did for him. But this one fits a lot of the criteria. Again, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5, maybe a 6, because the overhead they have to maintain a lot of tools. Some sort of a work truck or work trucks. Even if they don't have an office, there's some overhead there. So I would give them a solid on that one as well. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5 ish, maybe a 7
That
on that niche.
that half you could upgrade to a full one because if they're a smaller operation, the owner's probably out working in the field. But if they start growing, all that new business is going to be going towards their technicians that they have on staff, so they can effectively grow without being a burden on their time.
Right. That's especially if they are training those folks, and then once those folks get licensed and they retain those folks. Well, here's roofers. I'm not really familiar with the roofer industry personally, Kevin. Do you have any experience with them or any?
I have not worked in that industry. I know people that
Yeah.
have.
I mean, I've seen a couple of my coaching students research roofing, and it looks very promising from a niche perspective. My first thought is it's going to be somewhat seasonal because you're going to have in the Northeast not a whole lot of roofing activity taking place during the wintertime. And also some of the real hot parts of the country, there's probably a limited window of opportunity to do roofing activities during the day in the middle of the summer. So that to me, just right there alone, tells me that there's going to be somewhat limited, but it scored pretty well. I mean, if you look overall, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5, 7. If you give it a half a point for overhead, because they are having to maintain tools and trucks, and they're going to have to a lot of cases they're going to have to float the expense for the materials until they get paid. So I would give that decent score as well.
A good thing about roofing is it's highly a lot of customers in an industry, and it's a high ticket thing. If somebody needs to get their roof done, then they have to get their roof done, and it costs a lot of money. So that is one of the big benefits of that industry. And like as you bring in more business for them, the owner's working less in the field, and his staff's fulfilling all that, so he gets better margins as they grow.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, these are the basic niches. Now there's a secret sauce niche that Kevin and I have been talking about. It's a niche that I've worked in a long time. I've even had a few of my students, my coaching students, follow in my footsteps with great success as well. So this is just one of those ones that hits all the hot buttons that that a good niche needs to fit in. I don't know, Kevin, what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, so what we're going to be doing, we'll be talking about in just a second, is an in-depth case study on the secret niche. You'll know what it is, and we're going to use that based on this next part, which is once you pick a niche, how do you successfully go in that niche? So we're going to use the secret ideal niche as a case study of how to be successful in a niche. It meets all the criteria, so it's the best case study that we could do for everybody. So we're going to be talking about that in just a few minutes. But here's the summary if you want to see how it summarizes up. But now let's talk about even more important is you pick a niche. What do you do to be successful in that niche? So it comes down to a number of key steps that you need to follow. The first is the market research. So what you don't want to do is pick a niche and then just blindly jump in there and fumble your way around in the dark. So when you are working with people to effectively research a niche, what are the key things that you want them to do?
Sure. Basically, there's a process that I take, not only myself through, but all, the students that I've worked with over the last couple of years. And I drill into the heads. Do not pick a niche based on emotions. As everybody comes, I always tell them, pick 3 niches that you're interested in. So they're all ones that they pick based on emotions. It could be, I've always wanted to work with animals, or, I have family that's in this niche. That's great. I want you to back that up with research. And so one of the things I have them do is complete a questionnaire that research items. They go to Google, they go to a couple other resources, and they basically do the research for the niche. And then I have them actually create a survey of questions, and I force them to actually call and get 5 surveys completed for each of the 3 niches that they're interested in pursuing. So, and basically come back with, ask these questions. Where do your customers come from? What's the average customer value? What's what's your closing rate? All these questions that help prove a niche. And so that when they make their final decision on selecting the niche, it's based on real market research. It's based on them doing a physical survey where they're actually making phone calls and to get this information. So they're picking a niche based on real business, real life statistics, and not just by the seat of their pants.
Yes.
Also, a couple things that come out of this research process that are positives that contribute to this is just by doing that research, completing that questionnaire, and doing that survey, they start to learn the language of that niche. So they learn what the keywords are. And I don't mean keywords from an SEO standpoint. I mean the language, the words that are used by the business when they talk to each other, right? And then they start to learn what the pain points are for the niche, because we all know that people make buying decisions based on emotional triggers when they're in an emotional state, and then they justify it with logic. And so people respond to pain points. People will more aggressively move away from pain than they will to move towards pleasure. So you got to discover what those pain points are so you can plug them into the marketing. And then also understand the competitive landscape. Who is their competition? What are the hot buttons for the competition? Some niches, their emotional triggers are way different. In fact, the niche that we're going to be revealing and doing a case study on, we'll be sharing with you that their emotional hot buttons are different than a lot of other niches, because they're a lot more concerned with what the competition is doing than some of the normal triggers that other business owners would be concerned about. So just stuff to keep in mind. Market research, hugely important.
All right, so then the second thing, once you research the market, you understand the services they're offering, their pain points, the desired outcomes that they want. What you want to do, and Ed's been great at this, is create a proprietary methodology on what you offer that marketplace. So this is your system that solves the biggest pain points and delivers their most desirable results. And it's not a collection of random services that you're selling like a vendor. It's a proprietary system that you're bringing to that marketplace, unique and exclusive to their industry.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kevin. Yeah, this is basically 6 areas of excellence framework that I use, and by having these 6 areas of excellence, when I'm dealing with a potential customer and I take them through a strategy session, I'm able to help them map their pain points to one of these 6 areas, and then on the other side, I already have mapped my services to those same 6 areas. So those 6 areas, I'll tell you what they are now. Don't worry, we're gonna go over them again in the case study, but they're traffic, capture, nurture, convert, maximize, and analyze. And I'm not going to get into a lot of detail right now as to what those are. We will do that in the case study. But for example, traffic, right? If they have problems with traffic, like if their website's not being found, or they're not getting enough people coming to their website, or the phone's not ringing, right? Because traffic means the phone ringing too. If they're not getting enough new activity coming to them each month, then that is that first area of excellence, traffic. And then we know on the other end there's some things that we can do to help them solve those problems based on our services. And it's different for every business, but it could be anything from pay-per-click to Facebook to direct mail to there's just all kinds of things that can be done that you could map there, and you could have a bunch, or you could just have one. But having that 6 areas of excellence, where you're able to map the pain points through the 6 areas to specific services that you provide, not only makes it extremely easy to explain the concept in the return on investment to a potential business owner, but it also makes your business very scalable because you have some prepackaged, predetermined services that you can bundle together to solve these problems when you go through a strategy session. So really, really good stuff. We're going to be going over that in the case study.
And this is a key aspect of positioning yourself in a niche to stand out from the crowd, and then having that, being able to charge premium pricing. Because if you just say, oh, I'm going to be in this niche, the plumber niche, and I'm going to be offering this service, well, you still have some of those vendor-like qualities. You're just taking a niche and like slapping it on top of the old way of doing it. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. So creating a methodology that you repackage what you would already be doing, but put it into this unique system for the industry, it makes it appear extremely more valuable and targeted to their unique needs and wants.
Yeah, that you just made me think of something, Kevin. So by doing that, positioning yourself that way, on the front end of that, where you're mapping the pain points to those 6 areas, creates a very personalized, high-quality, high-ticket experience for the prospect. But the fact that you've already mapped your services to those same 6 areas means that the solution for those items is very scalable and very packaged. So it's not a lot of custom work at all. So it's a very elegant model of a personal experience for the prospect, but a scalable package solution on the other end.
Yeah, it's really critical in this world. All right, the next thing you want to do is professionally position yourself in that industry. So the moment somebody comes in contact with you, if they are the plumber or the dentist or the attorney, you are viewed as a great person, or you're specialized in their niche or industry. So it's your website that you have that's targeted specifically to that niche. Video, professionally done video that's on that site that makes you look like $1 million. Having a webinar, either a live or an automated webinar that you put them through, speaking directly to their industry with their pain points and their desired outcomes. And then all the marketing collateral you do speaks directly. It's using their language. It's using images and graphics that appeal to them, everything, and then case studies as well. So this is all your positioning material that you use from day one, so you look like a high-end, credible marketing firm for their industry.
Yeah, real important to have those items. I'd say they're all equally as important, but I love having a good case study or two, especially when you're starting out in a niche, because a lot, if a potential business owner, potential client asks you for a reference, a lot of people get stuck right there, right? But if you have case studies, you say, oh yeah, I'll send you a couple of case studies over, right? Case studies don't even have to name a business owner. All it has to do is be somebody that has been taken through the same process that you're going to implement for that business owner, and then the case study becomes immediately relevant.
So this is another area that you've really pioneered in the local marketing world, is automated marketing funnels that you use to build your business and your agency, Ed.
Yeah, I'm all about systems. Creating a system of systems to run my business in pretty much every aspect. Every time I look at any task that's going to have to be done more than once or on an ongoing basis, or I might have to hand off to somebody else, I try to systemize it. And the same thing with sales funnels. And so sales funnels do a few things. I mean, they filter out the folks that you don't want to work with, so they help you identify and reel in the ideal prospects for your business. And you do want to pick the right type of customers, obviously, because the wrong type of customers can take up 80% of your time, that 80-20 rule. And, driving traffic into that funnel, right? So if you have a set funnel that does all the heavy lifting for you in building authority and trust and educating your prospects, then all you got to do is feed that funnel. Just keep sending traffic into it, and then conversions start taking place. And then you want to have the right types of lead magnets there. It could be a free report, it could be a video series, it could be a webinar, it could be a book, right? Whatever your lead magnet might be, they're all effective. Those are great for educating the business owner, but also getting them into your funnel, and then having that email follow-up process. So once they've arrived at your website or your landing page, they've seen what's offered to them, whether it be whatever lead magnet that might be, and they decide they want that. They then will give you their email and their first name, to get that, and then you can start to follow up with them automatically with a series of emails that educate them and continue to take them down this path and tell your story, so that they start to know, like, and trust you as an authority to help them, get the desired result. And it just when you tie together, when you tie in webinars and different things like that, where you're really engaging them, the marketing funnel just does amazing things for delivering to you the perfect people to be doing strategy sessions with.
Yeah. A quick story around this. Last month we did our first sales webinar. It's something that's been on our kind of big rock list for a while. Finally got around to finishing it and doing it last month, and that generated this nice spike in new customers. But then we're reusing that multiple ways. Right now, my business partner is going to the trade show in our industry this month, and got this idea from Ed. Got his advice on how to do trade shows, and he said he'd give away this goodie bag. It has our book in it, has a DVD, it has a kind of a info sheet, and they have to fill out a questionnaire before they get the goodie bag, and everybody is going to want the goodie bag. So that DVD is just the recording of our webinar put onto a DVD using Kanaki. And then we're using Facebook. So we took our email list, uploaded it to Facebook, and are now marketing to everybody that is on our email list on Facebook. And then we create a lookalike audience, and that's consistent. Like almost every day we're getting a new lead off of that, because they're seeing us in a new place. They've been on our email list. We're driving them back to our pre-recorded webinar as well. So once you connect all these pieces together, this is where that synergy comes from. It just you have this amazing marketing system that's just constantly churning out new ideal prospects that turn into clients for yourself.
If somebody's asking what Kunaki is, real quick, I just Dan, to answer your question, Kunaki is a no-frills DVD duplication service, and they'll do DVDs on a one-off basis. The process would be you create your content, you upload the content to their site, you upload the artwork that you want on the cover, the front cover, back cover, the insert, and on the disc itself, and they'll produce these DVDs on a one-off basis. They'll even shrink wrap them, and they're the same quality that you'd find in a Target or a record store or a Walmart, and they'll actually produce them for, I think, $1.75 a piece, and then ship them. Obviously, you pay for shipping on top of that, so like $5 or $6 a piece on a one-off basis, or you can order in bulk. And so it's a really great way for you to do disc fulfillment. So just answer that question.
I believe it's kunaki.com.
Yes, Kunaki. I'll type it in. Share that with everybody. .com.
All right. So the next step is you have this automated marketing system that's generating these appointments for you of your ideal prospects. You need to have a sales process to convert those people into your premium level service offering. So this is another thing that you've really pioneered, is this new approach to the sales process that when I saw it, I gave it the paint by number sales system, because you're just connecting the dots together based on what the business owner is telling you, and based on how they connect together, you know exactly what you're going to be offering them, how you're going to get it fulfilled, and what price you're going to be charging.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, you gave it that name, the paint by numbers sales process. So if you picture this, and I don't have a graphic to show you on this presentation, but if you're on the case study that we're going to be doing, I will have a nice graphic that shows you visually what this looks like. If you picture in the middle, there's a column in the middle, and it has basically 6 fields in it, 6 rows in the column. And you've got traffic, right? Lead traffic, lead, and then the next one's lead capture, and then you've got lead nurture, then you've got sales conversions, then you've got client maximization, right? And then you've got analytics and call tracking at the bottom, right? So you have all those areas: traffic, capture, nurture, convert, maximize, and analyze. And then to the left of that column, you have the various pain points or fill in the blanks. You could have empty lines there where you could actually ask your, as you're going through a strategy session and asking them questions, fill those blanks in with what their pain points are. And then you can just draw a line, just map it over to whatever the corresponding area of excellence is that pain point corresponds to. Then on the other side, you've already gone through the exercise and predetermined what your services are if they have a problem in a certain area. So that way it becomes a paint by numbers. You just fill in the blanks with those pain points, and then they map to those areas of excellence, and then on the other side, you've already got them mapped to the services that you're going to do for fulfillment. So it truly becomes a paint by numbers sales process. Very easy to show a prospective customer, exactly from the beginning to end what the solution is going to be, why it's going to be. It makes sense to them. They feel like they're part of the process. Feels like a very personal experience to them. It's just a really great way, very easy way to close sales.
All right, then last is what you're actually the service offering that you're delivering, and then how do you get it fulfilled? So it can be the standard collection of services. It could be one, multiples of these, or however it is, from SEO to pay-per-click, reputation, videos, landing pages, email follow-up, staff training, direct mail, referral systems, all kinds of different things that you can be offering that you plug into your proprietary formula. And then you just need to know, how are you going to fulfill it? Is it yourself that's doing it, delivering it? Do you have independent contractors that are using it? Do you have staff that are going to do it? Or are you using an outsourcing company? So you need to know how it's getting fulfilled, because that's going to determine the cost to deliver that to the client. And then based on your cost, you can figure out what you want to charge to make sure you have the right level of margin, profit margin left over for yourself.
Yeah, great point. It's very important to make sure that you understand who your vendors are, whether you're going to do things in-house or out-house, and then what your cost is involved, so then you can figure out your margins and then figure out your pricing. And then once you have your pricing model, you can then create packages that bundle all the services together. It's really great, very strong way to deliver.
All right, so we've already been talking about this. I imagine you would who would love a real life practicals case study of everything that we just talked about, where instead of doing it in theory, we talk about it in real life of what's actually working out there in the real world. So what we're going
to specifically for that secret niche we're talking about that meets all those criteria.
Yeah, so instead of just taking any random niche, talk to Ed to take his number one most lucrative niche case study and turn that into a case study. So you're going to know it's next Wednesday, February 11th in the afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern. Just go to this link, nitromarketing.com/best niche, and register for the case study webinar. Make sure this is definitely going to be popular because, as you can imagine, this is a hot topic. We're not just talking theory. We're taking a proven, most lucrative niche, meets all 12 criteria, and going to walk through exactly how we applied everything we talked about on this to that industry, so you can replicate it in that ideal industry or in one of the other industries that you want to work in. So this is pull out the old rainbow unicorn phrase again. This is a rainbow unicorn niche that meets all criteria. Like Ed's been working in this successfully the past 4 years. It's his most lucrative one that he's worked in.
Yeah, and I've actually had a few of my one-on-one coaching students go through the same niche, and one of them is actually closing bigger sales than I do.
Yeah, that was the kind of the determining factor if we were going to talk about that niche. Is you saw you could pass it on to your coaching students, and it had zero effect on yourself, and it may have helped you be more successful because there's other people out there applying their unique twist to the business that you could take ideas.
I've learned a lot from my students. I've learned quite a bit as they've implemented, my systems and tools to do this, to go after this niche. The feedback I get from them actually helps me make my systems better.
Yeah, so we're going to take that formula and show you exactly how we applied it to a niche. So you can duplicate it in the same niche, or you can use that formula in any other proven niche that you want to be working in. Uh, you're going to learn how to powerfully position yourself in the marketplace from day one with real life examples of how we position ourselves. How to set up these automated marketing systems that defines, engages, and pre-qualifies your ideal prospects. So you're going to see what those are, actually like open them up and walk through them. You're going to see live how they work. We're going to go in depth on how that high conversion sales process that I talked about that allows them to sign up to 5,000, even up to I think $8,000 clients. But then we're going to give you a unique twist that nobody's really talked about. We've kind of threw a couple of ideas of like what this is, and I settled on the incredible Hulk foot in the door strategy. It's like a foot in the door strategy because it's a lower ticket uh, entry point that's a very easy yes for the business owner to say yes to. But unlike other foot in the door strategies where you do this and now you have to like have a whole nother conversation about something else, once you do this, it instantly leads into the long-term progression into a high-end client, anywhere in the $5,000 to $8,000 range. So this is going to be a major breakthrough for a lot of people. Is this new kind of foot in the door strategy that we're going to share with you on the webinar that's working like gangbusters, and then how we build out a proprietary service offering for that niche that is easy to fulfill.
Yeah, I love the name that you gave it, Kevin. The Incredible Hulk foot in the door strategy. It's such an elegant model that allows you to um, provide a service, initial service that's under $1,000, still puts $500 in your pocket each month, that you can then upsell extremely quickly and get them to a $3, $4, $5,000, even higher per month client just in a matter of a few months.
Yeah, so this hangout was giving you the framework, 12-point framework that you can evaluate a niche, and then the steps to follow to be successful in a niche. Now we want to take it to the next level and make it a practical exercise of real world. What does this look like? Not theory, not concepts, not ideas, but real world practical advice. So you can take that and apply yourself and have great results very quickly putting this into use. So looking forward to seeing everybody next Wednesday, February 11th. We'll be back on the normal go-to webinar, so we definitely would have the audio issues that we had today with this unexpected audio challenge with the Google Hangout. I don't know.
Somebody asked for the 6 areas of excellence, Kevin, so I'm just typing them in it for everybody real quick. But we will have some graphics for you to look at in the case study. But just so you know what they are, here are the 6 areas for everybody. Let's see. Okay, great. So yeah, we'll be unveiling that magic niche in the case study, and then we're going to basically show you, like Kevin said, how to do all this stuff for that niche or any other niche. So pretty cool stuff.
All right. We because of our half-hour delay, we are definitely running late today. So any last questions people have?
We have people that are saying you're not going to mention the niche today. No, we're not.
It's a
We've laid out the groundwork, and of course we want you to be there for the case study. There's no way we could do a whole case study today because what we have to do today is lay out what makes a good niche and explain the background of how to go after a niche, and then next we're doing the actual case study. But there's no way we could have fit both of those into one call. So of course we're going to have a little bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down here in Brazil, and the most popular thing on TV is uh, the novellas. So it's like the Brazilian version of daytime soap operas, and they're just Exactly. So like there's these constant like crazy cliffhangers going all over. So all right. I'm looking to see any questions. Doesn't really look like it. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We had a really appreciate those that turned out despite our half-hour delay and technical issues and having to jump ship to a whole new system besides the Google Hangout. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the flexibility. It's always great to see the people that will do whatever it takes to get the job done, and that's what you guys did today.
all right. Well, we are going to wrap this up. See everybody next Wednesday. And real excited to hear some great success stories as more and more people are going out there and becoming that niche authority and having tremendous success in niches this year.